All right, let's dive right in. Today, we're talking about a really exciting journey, how to go from being a JavaScript web builder to becoming an AI agent architect. If you're a JS dev, you're actually sitting on a goldmine of skills that are perfect for this next frontier. We're going to lay out the exact roadmap to make that leap. So, let's start with a big question. Can the skills you use every single day to build websites really be used to build an AI? The answer is a huge, emphatic yes. In fact, the very tools you use to make a web page interactive are pretty much the same ones you can use to give an AI its eyes, its ears, and its hands to work inside the digital world. So here's the plan. First, we'll get into why JavaScript is so uniquely perfect for this. Then we'll cover the core JS concepts you absolutely need to nail down. We'll look at how to build the agent's world, and then we'll touch on the AI principles that will basically be its brain. Finally, we'll put it all together and give you that step-by-step roadmap to mastery. Okay, first up, why even think about JavaScript for AI? I mean, doesn't Python own that conversation? Well, it all comes down to where JavaScript lives, its native habitat, the web browser. Think about it for a second. Most of the time, an AI agent needs to do stuff on websites, right? Clicking buttons, filling out forms, grabbing data. Well, JavaScript is the language that builds and controls the DOM, the actual structure of a web page. So using JavaScript to power an agent isn't just a good idea. It's the most direct path. Your agent isn't some outsider trying to peek in. It's a native speaker in its own world. And the perks just keep coming. The whole JavaScript ecosystem is just so powerful. With Node.js, you can write your agent's server-side brain in the exact same language as its browser-based body. It's a seamless, full-stack dream. You've got NPM, which is this giant library of packages for pretty much anything you can think of. And, crucially, JavaScript was built for real-time communication, using tech like WebSockets, which an agent absolutely needs to perceive and act in an instant. Okay, so you're sold on using JavaScript. But what specific skills do you really need to sharpen? This is all about the fundamentals, which are going to act like the nervous system for your agent, carrying all the signals and letting it react to its environment. Now, this list should look pretty familiar, and that's exactly the point. We're not talking about some obscure, newfangled concepts. Being a master of async operations, for example, that's totally non-negotiable for an agent that has to think and act without freezing up. Understanding closures and scope is key for managing the agent's memory. And of course, a deep knowledge of the DOM is how your agent is going to see and touch the world. You know, what's really cool is how a core JS feature like prototypal inheritance suddenly becomes so important for AI. See, JavaScript's flexible object model lets you create these really adaptable, reusable behaviors. You can build a base agent object and then spin off specialized versions that inherit all its core skills while adding new ones. It makes your code way more efficient and easy to scale. This quote just nails the whole concept. As a web developer, you already live and breathe asynchronous thinking. You write code that just sits there, waiting for a user to click a button. Well, an AI agent does the exact same thing. It listens for events. Only instead of a click, it might be listening for a stock price to change or a new message to pop up in a chat. The engine underneath it all, the event loop, is precisely the same. All right, with those core skills locked in, let's talk about architecture. We have to build the world that the agent actually lives in. You can think of it as its body and its senses. An AI agent doesn't just float in the void, right? It lives inside a full-stack application. You'll use a front-end framework, React, Vue, you name it, to create the interface it interacts with. Then you have Node.js as the heavy-lifting backend, where all the core thinking happens. An API layer connects the two, and a database gives your agent a memory, a place to store everything it learns and remembers. And as the architect, you're going to face some choices. For the API, are you going with a classic REST setup using something like Express.js or a more flexible GraphQL approach? For the database, does your agent's knowledge fit neatly into the structured tables of a SQL database, or is it more like a series of messy conversation logs that would be better suited for a flexible NoSQL database like MongoDB? There's no single right answer. It all depends on what problem your agent is built to solve. So, we've built the body. Now, for the really fun part, giving our agent a mind. Let's get into the core AI concepts that actually allow it to make decisions. And here's something you really need to hear. You do not have to become a Python expert to build AI. Seriously, even though a lot of the tutorials and papers out there are Python first, the fundamental concepts, the logic, the algorithms, the decision-making, they're totally universal. You can absolutely implement these powerful ideas directly in JavaScript. So one of the first concepts you'll bump into is heuristics. It's really just a fancy word for an educated guess or a rule of thumb. Imagine an agent trying to find the shortest path on a map. Instead of checking every single possible route, a heuristic helps it make a good enough decision really quickly. It's all about being practical, not waiting for perfect. Next up is classification, and this one is absolutely fundamental. It's just the process of taking a piece of data and sticking it into a category. Is this email spam or not spam? Is this comment positive or negative? An agent uses classification to make sense of all the chaotic information it sees, and in the JavaScript world, you'd probably use a library like TensorFlow.js to handle this. Let's make that more real. Imagine an e-commerce agent scanning a web page. It has to classify the buttons it finds. Is this the Add to Cart button or is it the Login button? When it analyzes what a user is typing, it has to classify their intent. Is this person trying to make a purchase or are they just making an inquiry? Classification is what turns all that raw perception into actual understanding.
And that's really the bottom line here. Classification isn't just some abstract exercise. It's the bridge that takes you from raw, messy data to the ability to make an intelligent, informed decision. It's how your agent actually starts to think.
All right, this is the part we've all been waiting for. We've got the JavaScript core, the architecture, and the AI brain. Now let's connect all the wires and see how this thing actually comes to life.
This right here is the agent's heartbeat. It's the action loop. It all starts with perceive. The front-end code sees something change. Then communicate. That info gets zapped over to the Node.js backend through a WebSocket. Next is think. The server applies its AI logic. Then decide. It figures out the best thing to do next. And finally, act. It sends a command back to the front end to do something, like click a button. Perceive, communicate, think, decide, act. Over and over and over. And this whole thing feels like magic, but it's not. The speed of this loop is possible because of very specific technologies. You have a powerful Node.js server on the backend, and you use libraries like Socket.io to make managing that constant two-way conversation between the brain and the body incredibly simple. And there you have it. You've seen all the individual pieces of the puzzle. So let's wrap this up by summarizing the entire journey and giving you a clear, actionable path to follow. Here it is, your roadmap, step by step. You start with the foundation. Get rock solid with core JavaScript and async Node.js. Then you build out the architecture by mastering a full-stack framework. After that, you give it a brain by studying those universal AI concepts we talked about. You connect everything together with WebSockets for real-time integration. And then the most important part, you practice. Build small, simple agents first and then work your way up. You know, we're at a really interesting point right now. The web is changing from this passive library of information into an active space where things get done. As a JavaScript developer, you are perfectly positioned with the skills you already have to build the tools that will navigate this new world. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build?